You're welcome to the Friends and Family Show. We're coming to you live on ChannelOne TV. Here at our studios at number 5 Ole Hansen Lane in Tesano. My name is Noyo Kwote. Like I always say, this show, we come up with so much emotions. We're true to ourselves. We're real. We laugh. We cry when we have to. But most of the times, it is very, very interesting. Tonight, we're talking about something a little bit sensitive, but I'd want for you to be a part of it. Okay, the show is super interactive and you can be part of it by sending me a message via WhatsApp on the number 020-444-7033, and you would have to add your name so we have a super duper time. I'll take a break. When I'm back, we're talking about raising children with special needs. Yeah, welcome back to the Friends and Family Show. My name is Noyo Kwote. We're talking about raising children with special needs. Would want for you to be a part of the conversation and send us a message on WhatsApp on the number 020-444-7033. You can add your name and send us all the things that you'd want us to know and probably be part of the conversation. Tonight on the show, I have two mothers, two lovely guests who are going to talk about this with me. And first off, I have Ms. Ginny Patterson, who is the country director at Amnesty International and also a mother to a child with special needs.
Yes.
Okay, I have as well Major Bwajoa Frimpong, who is a midwife and also a mother of a child with special needs. You're welcome to the studio. Okay, so we're going to start off with when we say that a child has special needs, what does it mean?
Okay, thank you now for your question. So, special needs is a very big umbrella. When you say somebody is in a special need, it can be visually impairment.
Okay.
It can also be hearing impairment. It can be cerebral palsy, as well as autism. So special needs is a very big umbrella. And these children are children who cannot perform their daily activity like their other children do. So they need additional support from parents and specialists.
So that's what it means. You want to add into it?
Yes. So I mean, as she said, you know, persons with disability basically is a more broader term, but it's also a rights-based term.
Right.
As you know, I'm a human rights activist, so this is more the term we use. Special needs is more general, but it's also not very specific to. It's more about the caregiving process, it's more about the specific needs, and they can also be temporal needs. So for example, a child with dyslexia would be regarded like as a special needs child. It could be a temporary situation. With disability, most of the time, it's permanent. It's permanent, it's life-lasting, and it means that they are going to require care throughout their lives, but it also means that aside the care that they require throughout their lives, there are societal barriers. For example, a person with a physical disability, a wheelchair user, maybe cannot access certain areas, public spaces. So that person is regarded as a person with disability. So for me, my son has cerebral palsy and microcephaly and epilepsy. He has other minor issues, but you know, those are his main diagnosis. So that means him even being a child with cerebral palsy, there are levels to it. It's the same with autism, there are levels to it. People have this tendency of putting every person with a disability into one basket. If I tell you that my son has cerebral palsy and you say, oh, I know another child that has cerebral palsy. They are never, no, they are different. They are absolutely not the same, because most of the time they have underlying conditions. There are persons with cerebral palsy that can walk, some that go to university. My son has a severe case of cerebral palsy. He can't walk, he can't talk, but he has a way of communicating anyway. Yeah.
Okay. That's nice. So what are some of the common things that, like, you know, people just outrightly say, the very common thing that people outrightly say, oh, this child has, you know, needs, special needs. You know, they put everything under one umbrella, like it's really common when they just say someone has special needs. Then they just, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. So in our part of the world, people normally associate special needs children like a curse. In our local dialect, we will say insioba.
Yeah.
Also, people also think that it's a bad luck. People also think that it's a punishment from our ancestors. Recently, a friend, just last month, one of my colleagues' son got missing, and the child was sent to police station. When the woman sent the child to the police station, the policeman told the woman that this child is in Sioba, and looking at him, he has been abandoned by the mother. So they wrote a police report for the mother, for the woman to keep the child. In case the parents find the child, she should show the police report that indeed he brought the child to the police station and he was given the permission to keep the child. So if even people we entrust to protect us doesn't even understand the special needs, and they can return such a child that is a insioba or he's a curse, you can understand the level of knowledge or awareness that we need to create. So people have the myth that these people are insioba.
Right.
Yeah, so
that's
I mean,
tough.
yeah, so it's the same. Insioba means child from the water, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes,
given
so
to you from
God,
Yes.
the gods
or
of
their
the
ancestors.
waters.
Okay, so I give a very vivid example. So a lot of the time, kids with cerebral palsy, because they can't walk, people see them as spiritual snakes. That is what it is in our culture. So what happens is that a lot of the time when you go to like Labadi Beach, and so a lot of sometimes people leave their kids there so that the water can wash them away. There's also this culture of sitting on the child, where you sit on the child till they suffocate. So a lot of the time that's done with kids with physical disability. They actually have women who are employed because they are big, and they sit on your child.
What?
Yes, it's actually what they do. It's done in specific cultures in Ghana, where the woman is employed to sit on your child. You pay her, she sits on your child, so your child cannot breathe, your child dies. So these are some of the things we have to deal with
right.
in our society. It's also the stairs. I think I go out with my son, he's in a wheelchair, definitely looks smaller than a typical 9-year-old child. So, you get stared at, you get the, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want sympathy, I want empathy. So I think as a person, when you see someone with a child with special needs, or you see a person with disability, the way to go is not apologize. What are you apologizing for? He was born like that. I've accepted his condition, and I expect other people around me to just act normal. But it's all, some people have prayed over him. Can I pray over him? I'm like, no, you can't touch him, but you can close your eyes, go say a prayer, but don't touch my son. So, like, it's just so many things. Pastors will come, tell you they've had a vision. I swear, I was sitting at a restaurant, I was with my child, and then a pastor comes to me and says he has had a vision, and he knows the source of my son's disability, and maybe it's a witch in this side of the family, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just happy that I'm not someone who is susceptible to this kind of nonsense. I'm sorry. So I just say, thank you, I don't need this, kindly move on. And they get the point very quickly and leave. However, a lot of religious leaders are taking advantage of caregivers who have, when I say caregivers, mothers and fathers, because some fathers are also looking after their kids with special needs. They take advantage of the vulnerability of us and use it as, come for prayers, your child will be healed in Jesus' name. My child has a permanent condition. I have accepted it. Why can't you? You understand? Yes, we pray for a miracle. Great. That's nice. It could come, it could not come. But I'm not going to dwell on hearsay and I'm hopeful. I'm going to make do with my situation. Right. My child, I'm lucky. I've been able to put him in school. I have a lot of support from my family, from my mother especially. She's amazing. Kisses to you. I have nannies, but it's not the same for everyone. Unfortunately, there are a lot of mothers like us who do not have a support system, who do not have people that you know, people actually think their children are, you know, cursed. So they don't want to go around their children. I've even had yes, I've had a nanny I'm very transparent whenever I hire a nanny. I let them know this is what you're coming to do. This is the environment you're coming to meet. It is not easy. This is the reality. And one nanny told me that, oh, she hasn't had kids yet, and her parents told her that if she looks after my child, she's gonna get pregnant with a child like that, so she's resigning. So these are some of the things you have to deal with.
Wow.
You know, yeah.
Wow, now that's a bit tough. But anyway, why is it important for us to challenge these stereotypes? You know, I think that's really important. I don't know how to put it, but then why is it so important for you to challenge these stereotypes? Because the child is mine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The child is mine. And I don't think that I'll wake up in the morning, walk up to your doorstep and say that, okay, the child is mine, but can you have the child, you know, for a while? Unless, of course, it's professional, you know. But then the child is mine. And all of these stereotypes that go on and on and on, why is it so important for us to challenge it? Because I know definitely it's definitely going to hit you one time when you hear that, oh, hey, you get, definitely it will hit you. I think that we should fight the challenge. We should fight the stereotype. We have to challenge it. No?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
You think it's important?
Yes, I think so. So we need to create awareness because these children, though they have this ability, but most of them are very genius.
Right.
Most of them are very intelligent. When you take my son, Nana, his cognitive is intact. You can never go out, take away his cognitive. Very smart boy. His problem is autism. So we have to deal with speech problem. So when there is stigmatization, it means me as a mother, I cannot come out and tell people about the ability of my child. I have to hide my child because when they see you with a autism child or a child with this, they just rule you out. And when it happened like that, the child becomes timid. It affects the child developmental stages. Also, it limits the child opportunities in life because my child is very intelligent. I always look at this man, Jason, all day, the youngest black professor in Cambridge University, and compare my child to it. So I'm not shy. I'm not afraid of stigmatization. This is what God has given me, and I love him. Like you said, I will never come and knock at your doorstep and tell you, have him.
Exactly.
I will not come and put my burden. I'm ready to carry my cross. So I don't know the reason why I should hide my child because of what people will say. God knows that I can take care of him.
Right.
That's why he gave him to me. So for me, I think the awareness creation should be there. We should let them know that these children are also genius. They are, I think Nigeria, Guinness Book of Record, the guy who drew the biggest canvas in the world is autistic.
Right.
So we have people like this. If you don't bring them out, if you don't let them explore what they can do, and we hide them in our rooms, it means we are worrying the generation.
True. You have something to add?
yeah, I mean, I completely agree with her. And again, I don't like to judge because I feel like, again, I feel privileged, like in a way that my son has access to a private school. We have nannies. Like I said, I have family who support. Other people don't have that. And because of the stigma they go through in their community, they tend to lock up their children in the room. I just want to reach out to them and just let them know, like, don't lock them up. Don't feel like, you know, the world is against you. I understand that you don't have the support you need, but, you know, let's try and support you. There are actually groups out there. I'm sure she's part of some of the groups. I've withdrawn myself because some of the groups were very dramatic. But there are support groups out there. Some are on Facebook that you can join. I'm part of CP Warriors, for example, on Facebook. I found an outlet because, of course, I mean, my son being born with cerebral palsy, I'm not going to say that I've been strong throughout. You know, I've had my down times, and I needed a support system and I needed an outlet for my stress, frustrations. So I created a blog. I created a blog that would raise awareness on his condition, but also let people understand like the challenges mothers and fathers, caregivers basically, go through when they are looking after kids with special needs. And it's an everyday challenge. Right. Sometimes when people ask me, how's your son doing? Sometimes I don't know what to tell you, because maybe the truth is that he isn't doing very well. And that can be a burden to some people. So most of the time I'll tell you, if it's close friends, I'll let you know that, yeah, today he's not fine. But if it's people that I'm not very close to, I'll just say he's okay. Right. You know, but we actually, I mean, let's be genuine when we actually ask caregivers, how is your child doing? That we really mean it. When we ask, how is he really doing? You know, and not that you're asking just for, you know,
in passing.
Yes, like in passing. Yes, it's very important.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about early screening.
Yeah.
Did you actually find out from the beginning?
No.
Or it was after the child was born?
Okay. So my son was diagnosed exactly the day he turned 3 years. On his birthday. Okay. And I always ask God for forgiveness, because that was on his birthday. We went to Kolebu and he was diagnosed. It means I miss a lot, because the screening wasn't there. There wasn't any early screening. And this is what the country, or in our part of the world, we are lacking. I think when you go for this CWC, child welfare centers, the main focus here is immunization and weighing and nutrition. Nobody addresses developmental stages, because country as a Ghana, we lack assessment tool, milestone assessment tool, which I think MOH should be part of the public health curriculum for nurses in our CWC centers. And we don't have enough neurological doctors, neurologists, to look at these children. So right after birth, we have some reflexes that the child is supposed to exhibit, or the child is supposed to show. The midwife is supposed to assess this, pediatrician is supposed to assess this. But in Ghana here, we don't do it.
Right. So you just give birth and then the baby is just given to you?
Yes. So this is even in Accra and bigger communities. What about those in rural areas? It means it go back to our CWC, our child welfare nurses, the public health nurses. They are supposed to take this thing during weighing. By our weighing, basically, is immunization and weighing of children and nutrition. So the early screening is not necessary. It's necessary, and it's not part of our world.
Right. So it has to be in there.
Yes.
So as early as at what stage?
So the thing with, again, different special needs, and just as she is, I would say, a specialist in autism, I don't know. I specialize in cerebral palsy. Right. So with CP, what happens is that it can happen before, during, or after birth. And it's usually a brain injury or asphyxia. Asphyxia is lack of oxygen to the brain. So basically it can happen during that period. So for me, it's likely it happened before birth, because I was sick, I had a surgery, I had intestinal obstruction, and I was operated on whilst I was pregnant. So they had to cut me open, remove the womb, do my surgery, put the womb back. And I think during that period, there was asphyxia. So there was a lack of oxygen, but he survived. But also during my pregnancy, I took a lot of pain medications, tramadol, etc. I was hospitalized for almost 2 months. So for doctors, when you have a pregnant mother, the mother is more of the priority to survive. Right. So the baby becomes a secondary matter. They want to save you in terms of just ensuring that you live. Baby, not exactly, you know. So I was told that it's likely after the surgery he's not going to survive. So we did what we call an anomaly test. Now, an anomaly test, she will know because she's a midwife. An anomaly test, there's a certain period you can do it where they measure the limbs, the head, everything of the baby. Again, anomaly test is not available in every hospital. And it's a scan. The doctor will scan and measure. Pardon?
Is it a 3D or 2D?
I have no idea right now whether Ghana it's. When I was doing it, it was 2D possibly.
2D, okay.
So you scan and they measure all the limbs. They measure the head. At the time when that scan happened, they told me that everything was fine. But I just knew in my heart that, you know, he was going to come out how he is currently. So when he was born with a very small head. So microcephaly is when your child is born with a very small head and there's no room for the brain to grow. So most of the time when you see children with relatively small head or the circumference. But funny enough, his APGAR score, when because I pushed, because again, the doctors didn't want to cut me again. I was cut twice already because I had an infection and all sorts of things. There was a lot of complications with my medicals. But I pushed, right? It was a natural birth. But when he came out, the APGAR score was average. However, after a day or two, and then actually when I was being rolled out of the room, there was a lady who had just given birth to twins. And I looked and I was like, damn, those heads are large. Like the kids' heads are large because I felt I pushed my baby 2.5 kg. Hey, it's cool.
Right.
But I started really looking at my son and I was like, his head is small. So that's when the pediatrician told us that he has microcephaly.
Right.
And then through that, obviously microcephaly is the main condition. And then we realized that he was not hitting certain milestones and he was diagnosed with epilepsy and cerebral palsy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's getting a bit tense. I'd like for us to take a break. You're still on the Friends and Family Show. We're talking about children with special needs. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we're back on the Friends and Family Show, coming to you live on ChannelOne TV. Here at our studios at number 5 Ola Hanson Lane in Tesano. My name is Noyo Kworte. We're back to talk about raising children with special needs. And right about now, I would want to ask this particular question. What exactly should parents and caregivers look out for? Probably in the early stage, the most important things to look out for.
Okay. So for the signs and symptoms may be different.
Okay.
Because like I said earlier on, it's a spectrum. Autism is a spectrum. We have mild, severe, and moderate. So signs and symptoms may be different. Somebody may also have cerebral palsy. The signs and symptoms may be different from autism. Somebody may be Down syndrome. The signs and symptoms may be different. So for the autism, normally it started from 1 year for the signs and symptoms. The child may not be able to respond to his or her name.
Okay, that's like a first sign.
Yes.
Okay.
We have red flags.
Okay.
We have red flags. You see the child flapping the hand. The child walking with the toe.
Okay, like tiptoe.
Tiptoe,
okay.
yes. The child social dissociation. You see the child socially
so it doesn't
isolation
go with
other
okay.
kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Likes to play with themselves.
Yes.
Right.
So for my son, when he started, we used to say he's a gentleman. Because you don't see him playing with other kids.
Jumping up and down.
He will go to the kitchen, pack all my cooking utensils, bring it to the living room and play with it. Then we have to pack it back. So he was playing to himself. Neighbors will bring their children to the house, but you won't see him playing with other kids. He wasn't responding to his name. He likes switching lights on because of sensory issues.
Right.
Yes. So they have the eating habit too. Some may not want to swallow. Some may not also want to chew.
Okay.
Some may not want food or something to even touch the finger to touch anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So the signs and symptoms is different. So cerebral palsy too normally have to do with physique. Down syndrome also have to do with physique. And autism sometimes they have speech delay. They have behavioral issues. You see them banging their head.
Okay.
So the signs and symptoms differ from condition to condition.
Okay. So is that what they say that some children are on a spectrum?
Yes.
But that spectrum is quite different.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So
The
some are
spectrum is
aggressive.
different levels.
Different levels.
Some are aggressive. Some don't sleep at night. So for Nana, I think when he was around 6 months to 2 years, he would sleep late, maybe 11, 12 p.m. Then he would wake up late.
Wow.
So it was very tiring. But until he was diagnosed, then I came out with solution.
Okay. I was going to come to that as my next question.
Yes, until he was diagnosed, because I didn't know that not sleeping early was a problem. Because you sleep around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So you see the nannies will open your door and they will just put him in your room and they will go and lock themselves and sleep.
Yeah. So
And the next day you go to the office.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, so there's a lot of insomnia issues with kids with special needs. So
Okay.
that's one. You'll see that they are not sleeping a lot. That's one. Milestones for kids with cerebral palsy, what most of the time they delay in milestones. So in terms of sitting up, when they are babies, you know, babies try and sit up, turn,
Roll
roll over. So those are some of the signs. If your baby is delaying in rolling over
that,
and doing
okay.
those kind of milestones, there's likely to be an issue, but you can get it checked out. Let's not also, I mean, everyone and the way they develop as well. I know persons who spoke as late as 4 years old and they're fine.
They're fine.
They're absolutely fine. But it's really good to just go and check your child out.
Okay.
If you see that they are delaying in milestones, if you see that their speech is slurred, or if you see that they don't pay attention very much. So that's with
The attention
ADHD.
span is short.
Yes,
Okay.
ADHD. Maybe you give your child something to do, homework. It's, you see they are doing homework. I'm done. I don't want to do it. They lose concentration very quick. They get bored very quick. Now there's a difference. You know, I mean, nobody liked homework when they were kids. I didn't like it. I was chased to do homework. But there's a specific way, like within 2-3 minutes,
They're doing something else.
just mind is somewhere else. I don't want to do this. You check out. So these are some of the early signs that you can see. Like she said, there's an issue of early diagnosis, especially with the kids that do not have physical disabilities. Down syndrome, most of the time you see it from the face or something like that. With cerebral palsy, most of the time if you see maybe one arm or limb is not functioning well, coordination. Cerebral palsy has to do a lot with coordination. So what happened with my son, for example, is there's a missing part of his brain. It's called the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is like this. It connects the left to the right. So he doesn't have a corpus callosum. And so his left brain is not connecting to the right brain. When you have that, you can't walk. You can't coordinate anything. So a lot of the time when you go and do a brain scan, you'll see that, oh, there's absence of this. This is not there. This is, So there's so many hydrocephalus. There are so many kids, different special needs issues, different disabilities that you see. If your child has reading disabilities, you'll notice it with dyslexia. If I'm reading, maybe the A is looking like E. So most of the time you check why your child is reading like that. Don't get frustrated and hit the child and be like, can't you see? There are actually signs that you have to go and check out your child's reading. That maybe your child is seeing E and not A. Maybe your child is seeing N and not M. So you have to really be observant as a parent or caregiver for early signs and detection.
So that's as early as probably 1.
Yes. So for cerebral palsy, as soon as you give birth, you are able to see some of these things. The way the child interacts with you, is the child laughing. My son did not smile for a very long time. He had a straight face. You tickle him, he won't smile, he won't budge. You do everything. He's like the Pope. He's not doing anything. So some of these things, because your child should laugh, your child should react to things, your child should babble. And the moment you realize that your child is not doing those things, your child should repeat. So for example, when you say, you realize babies when you're like, nyeh, then they also say, nyeh, nyeh, those kind of things. If you realize your child is not doing those things, these are red flags and you need to get it checked out. Unfortunately, like she said, I think we have less than 5 neurologists in this country.
Okay, so that's
I mean,
access to diagnosis.
That's a whole other story. When I say neurologists, of course, we have pediatricians that have trained in specific areas to help, to support the system. So I know pediatricians who have trained and they know, okay, epilepsy, when there are seizures, you know, they can prescribe, they can do this, they can do that. But I'm talking about specialists in neurology. Neurologists in Ghana, I think they are less than 5. When I started this journey, I think they were 3. And then we have the developmental pediatrician. That's I think that's Dr. Marbell. She's the only one, I think. Yes. She's the only one. So everybody goes to her. And you can imagine how overwhelmed she is. And like I said, there are so many different types of disability. Everybody looks at visual impairment, hearing impairment. Even hearing impairment, there are levels to it. Some are completely impaired and some have slight hearing, partial. So it varies.
Nice. We've got some messages. I'd like for us to check them real quick. This one here says, a nice topic. Madam Genevieve and the Major have said it all. We need more awareness because more children are being diagnosed. And I'm Derek from Volta region. This topic is so close to my heart. I have a nephew with autism and watching his mom fight every day for his education and acceptance is inspiring. Thank you for highlighting this. Good evening now. The part about stigma hit me hard. In my community, people still think a child with special needs is a curse. We need more conversations like this to change that mindset, and I agree. I'm currently raising a child with cerebral palsy, and I cried listening to your guest. It's comforting to know I am not alone. Thank you for creating this space. Okay.
Come on your show again. You are very emotional. She's the one crying here.
I'm trying not to cry for myself.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Hope you are doing well.
I'm fine. So I was going to ask about the availability of,
resources.
Okay,
so for me, again, I'll speak. We have I always say Ghana makes beautiful policies. But the issue is implementation. So we have a policy on inclusive education. I remember I was very, very active when my son was born, and I was going around, counseling, helping other mothers and fathers of kids with cerebral palsy. And what we did is I was with a Special Mothers Project. And that particular group adopted the Medina Special School. And we tried to equip it and everything. And unfortunately, these are the realities. When you go to the school, the classroom is empty. They don't have teachers who are trained to help or support the kids that will come to the school. So it's a very difficult situation. You have a child with special needs. There's no school unless you do a private school. My son is in a private school, and not everybody can afford that. So I feel like government needs to do more in terms of supporting caregivers and inclusiveness. As for access to buildings, please, I've fought with a lot of people. A lot of the time when I'm going to places with my son, hotels or whatever, I have to call. Do you have wheelchair access? Sometimes they'll say yes. The angle of even the access is some high ramp. You can't go, and so I always have to find out building plans, basically, of areas, public spaces, before I can take my son. Even hospitals that claim they're accessible, I have to use the wheelchair on the road because the pavement of the hospital is rough. So if I'm taking my son, it's bumpy. And then there are gutters in between. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to use the road. And we will also be a road hazard. It's not a problem. So some of these things are huge issues. So that's one thing I want government to look at. Let's walk the talk. inclusive education, if you are setting up inclusive schools, okay, because they are looking at a blended version, doesn't work for everyone, okay. My son is in particular is in a special school, and he goes with the nanny, the carer. Other kids maybe do not need, like kids with dyslexia, like I said, it varies. Kids with ADHD, even kids with autism, depending on the level of, you know, they are integrated into mainstream schools, which is okay. But some of the mainstream schools, they are also not accepting of our kids. They are like, oh, your child will disrupt the class.
And then the teacher would have to take time for one child.
Oh, and we don't have that. Meanwhile, you said your school is inclusive. So please, the schools that use your schools, you are not inclusive. If persons come with their kids with special needs and you're not able to accommodate them, I understand if maybe you are short-staffed, maybe you don't have staff trained in that. But how about training your staff in that? Find the resources and train your staff so that they are able to support our family, you know, because I see, you know, kids with special needs and mothers and fathers of kids with special needs. We are our own family. Another thing I really thought about coming here, and it's something I've been preaching for, is cash transfers for caregivers of children with cerebral palsy, special needs in general. Because a lot of these women or fathers, because like I said, some are staying with their mothers, some are staying with their fathers, and then, you know, your spouse has abandoned you. So a lot of the time they can't work because they are single parents. So you're a single parent, you can't go to work, you also can't leave your child at home. So government in a lot of countries, what's happening is that government provides cash transfers. So it's seen as a job. You understand? It's seen as a form of employment.
So
because you're a caregiver.
And you can't
so
go
you
to
need,
work.
thank you. So you are looking after your child. You're not abandoning your child. So you should be seen as a caregiver. You should be seen as, it's like almost like a healthcare assistant. You should be classified as such. And you should be supported by the government. So this is an appeal, special appeal I'm making to government to recognize you know, caregivers of persons with disability and pay them. This is very important because at the end of the day, what job are you going to do? If you leave, you can't afford a nanny, you can't afford someone to come and look after your child. Even the person that will come and look after your child, you're not even sure the person will treat your child right.
Well,
so these are some of the issues. Yeah.
You have something to add?
Yes, I have something to add. So mothers with special needs children, or let's say parents with special needs children, are left alone to fight our own fight.
Yeah.
When you go to the hospitals, taking care of my child will be different from taking care of a normal child. This is the situation. I go to hospital to see the pediatrician, and my child have to join a queue with the same child, with a child with a normal child. There was a day I told the nurse, my child is a special child. The nurse told me that I shouldn't bring myself. Whose child is not special here? Even
she didn't understand.
Yeah, even the caregiver doesn't understand who is a special child.
Yeah.
And you know, these children, they melt down, they throw tantrums and all that.
So if you're in a queue and
so
you have other parents staring.
Yeah.
Okay, so that will actually bring me to my next, what I want us to talk about. Let's talk about the psychological and emotional impacts this has on parents with children with special needs. I know you're going to say I'm emotional, but it's definitely draining.
Yes.
You know, you're going through 9 months of pregnancy, quite excited, an expectant mother, and now you have a baby that you need to give extra care for. Definitely, you will break down at some point. It truly has emotional and psychological impacts.
Yeah.
But how have you managed? How have you handled all of these?
When you talk of psychological...
So on days that you have a breakdown.
When you talk of psychological, I think, like how before the show started, I told my sister that I haven't come over it yet. Though I've accepted it, I've accepted him. I asked myself, what do I do to help him? But I haven't come over it because I still live with some sense of guilt. I ask myself, what did I do wrong? Maybe during the pregnancy, did I eat something I wasn't supposed to eat? Did I take in medicine I wasn't supposed to? Did I go to health facility I wasn't supposed to? I keep on asking myself what I did. So I'm living with guilt. 2, it's emotionally and physically demand. You will come home and you see my son on the ceiling. He's a Spider-Man. He can climb everywhere. So you see him on the ceiling, and the moment he sees you, he jumps. So I'm always living in fear and panic. Society stigma. Unfortunately, live in a barracks, and my neighborhood, we are all nurses. So shout out to my neighbors. I went to individual homes. I will knock at your door and tell you that my son is autistic. So when you see him, because initially somebody can just come to my house and tell me that I don't know how to raise that child. The Bible says spell the child and spell the rod. And so you see me crying every day. So one day I told myself that I'll open up to the public. I'll let people know so that when they see my child somewhere, they will bring him to me.
Help.
So people think that you are careless. And financially, after this program, I want you to call all the special needs school or the centers, the early childhood intervention centers or the therapy center. Do your own research and ask how much they are charging. Some are charging in dollars. I think the least in this country will be 5,000 cedis. The least. And transportation. She asked me where I'm staying. I told her I live at 37. And my child goes to school at Domi every day. So you can imagine how much the driver would take. So it's emotionally draining, financially draining, and psychologically draining. These children, some of them become aggressive. Some don't sleep at night. Some are still using diapers. 10 years, 11 years, even the ladies, when they get their menses, mothers have to change them. 20 years, they cannot change their diapers. Some, when they use the washroom, you have to go and wipe them. You have to go and clean them. You have to bath them. So if I should come to hospital and tell you the nurse that my child is a special child and tell me whose son is not a special child here?
You know, I'm glad you're the one saying it though.
Yes, because you work in
that industry.
So emotionally, we are not fine. It's being drained. There is emotionally stress, mentally. Some mothers, especially bankers, I know about 5 bankers who have stopped working. Some, their spouse can't stand. They've left them. And mothers are raising them alone. Some women left their children and men are raising them alone. So if you are raising such child alone, how do you go to the office? You have to change diaper. 30 years you are changing diaper, you are changing wipe, you are changing, you are bathing them, you are dressing them. And there is no support coming from the government. You go to the office and your boss doesn't know what you are going through. And as part of the policy, labor policy, parents with autism, when you are sending your child for therapy, you are not supposed to go to the office. How many of our bosses know this? How many of our foremen know this? How many of our in charges know this? Sometimes when I send my child to hospital, I have to beg the doctor because you will not, if you want to admit him, he will not stay. So I have to drive home when it's time for him to get medication with the cannula. I bring him, and sometimes you see him removing the cannula.
So I mean, for me as well, it's everything she said is absolutely true, and I think it cuts across with most parents of kids with special needs. We get very little sleep. So the days I get sleep, I'm like super excited. But I don't know how I do it, but I just work on very little sleep. The thing about guilt, so my guilt comes more of when I'm absent, because I'm very busy. I'm a leader in my space. I'm a director. So a lot of the time I'm leading a team. So it becomes very difficult because I'm leading a team. It doesn't matter what happened at home. I have to come and fix my face and, you know, be in a good mood. So sometimes when you have co-workers being in not a good mood, I don't understand. It's frustrating for me, which, you know, I shouldn't do that, but it's frustrating for me because I'm like, you have no idea what I've just left or what is happening, or, you know, because it's just always something happening. You know, the nanny call me, oh, he's having a temperature. Okay, try this, try that. And with my son, Giovanni, it's trial and error because he can't tell us what's wrong. So he'll be complaining, so we have to check. Oh, did he, release bowels today? Has he eaten? What did he eat? Okay, why is he running temperature? Can you check his ear? Can you check, just press it? Is he in pain? Can you check his mouth? It's like a guesswork.
Right.
And then when we finally find, and he'll scream and shout till we figure out what's wrong with him. When we finally get what's wrong with him, he goes quiet, he's calm. So it's like, okay, you guys have understood why I'm screaming. So, you know, it's a lot of work. Right. Sometimes 1 hour sleep. In fact, sometimes I don't have any sleep. So coffee has become my best friend. So if you love me and you want to gift me something, please send me some Nespresso coffee. Thank you.
We have some messages. Some people think love is enough, but raising a special needs child takes knowledge, support, and advocacy too. Thank you for shedding light. This is Jojo Noyarfa. And we need more programs that train parents, not just teachers. I feel like I've been learning through trial and error for years. And this one here says, hello, Na. I'm Nana from 626, and the financial burden is real. I spend more on therapy in a month than I do on rent, and there's almost no support from government structures. Please talk about that more. Yeah.
So a lot of the time, like she said, when you're going for therapy, there's a queue. I mean, there is a queue. There's a waiting list. 37, no matter the hospital, what happens is that the space for therapy, if you're going for physiotherapy, the space is not very big, okay? And then you have to sign up for the therapy, you get the time and everything. So there are not too many people in that profession either. So we have occupational therapy, speech and language, we have physiotherapy. There are not enough medical people in that field. So because of that, what happens, we go, there's a long list, you get discouraged, you go home, you get it. Another thing, that the same issue that she has, when I go to the hospital, I always jump the queue. I don't have time for that because my son works on a routine. If I'm not out of there within an hour, this guy will start screaming. Right. I'm telling you. Yes, he has cerebral palsy, but he also has behavioral issues. He doesn't like being around people. He doesn't like people touching him. And especially if he doesn't know you, he doesn't like you to touch him. And he's very like, why are we in the hospital, you know?
Why are you taking too long?
Yes. When certain doctors come approach him, you start talking to him, he'll close his eyes. He doesn't want to know you. He's not, the moment you leave, he'll open his eyes. That is his way of also dealing with things. So, you know, I immediately go to the nursing station or whatever and let them know, you know what, my son has special needs. He needs to eat by 2 p.m. We need to be out of here by 1. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you need to explain to everybody here that. And it's not like I come late, and I've actually come early. I'm on time for my appointment, but there's a queue. And I'm like, sorry, we can't be in this queue. Sorry, everyone. It's not happening. He's in a wheelchair. I'm really sorry. We have to go quickly and leave. And then most of the time they understand. But it's like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And then I just want to touch on one thing, because you talked about how draining it is. Self-care is very important. So if you're able to get support and you try and do things, self-care, let me tell you, my self-care is Sunday in my bed doing nothing. I will lie in my cozy bed, put my covers on, and I'm just staring at the ceiling and I'm smiling. because I don't get that time very often. So sometimes my friends will call me, they're like, what are you doing today? I'm like, nothing. I'm in my bed.
And that is
I'm
you
not
doing
moving.
something.
That is, you know,
Right.
so self-care is very important. So whatever way you can do that, whether it's walk on the beach, self-care does not have to be expensive. It can be a walk on the beach. It can even be chatting with friends. Just doing that. I have a friend, shout outs to Mina. She's also a warrior mom.
Okay.
And 3 a.m., guess what? Because we call ourselves night crawlers. So 3 a.m., I'm on the phone with her because we are not sleeping. Our children are not sleeping. We are not sleeping. So those are the times I chat.
That's tough. Well, I wish that we could go on and on and on to, you know, talk more, but this is how far we can go. And I want to say that you're great moms. You're doing a great job, and do not give up.
Yeah,
This is our journey. We're going to go through it to the end. And thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you too.
And thank you so much for not making me cry too much. But this is how far we can go. It has been the Friends and Family Show live on ChannelOne TV. We'll be back tomorrow. My name is Noyo Kwote. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Have a good night.